This is the game played between Bobby Fischer and Pilinik of Argentina. This game is a Sicilian defense. This was played at Mar del Plata, a coastal city of Argentina. The presence of strong players like Pilinik, Najdrov, and Cassius Callis created the chess storm in the Buenos Aires, Argentina. Fischer tied third and fourth place with Ivko. Pilinik playing white and Fischer playing black. E4. All the comments made in this game are from Bobby Fischer. C5, knight f3, d6, d4, c into d4, knight into d4, knight f6, knight c3, a6, bishop e2, here h3, bishop c4 are also playable. e5, knight b3, bishop e7, bishop e6 also playable. White castles, Fischer also castles. Bishop e3, bishop e6, f3, queen c7, queen e1, knight b d7, rook d1, d1, a4 and d5. Black becomes very strong. Why black becomes very strong? Because of this pin. But rook d1 is played by Pilinik. b5, rook d2, knight b3. If a3, knight b6, bishop into knight, queen into bishop check. It gives equal play to black and white, but this is not played. Rook d2 is played. Knight b3. Instead of knight b3, if b4 is played, knight d5, knight into knight, pawn into knight, bishop f5, queen f2, a5. With good play against white's backward pawn on bishop on c2. After rook d2, knight b6 is played. Now white plays queen f2. Fischer played rook knight 1. Fischer thought that in the previous occasion he should have taken it. But after that Fischer had come to a conclusion that he will never take it. But Pilinik gave a big surprise to Fischer by playing bishop into knight now. Rook into bishop. Knight d5. Knight into knight. Pawn into knight. Bishop d7. f4. Bishop f6. c3. Rook 6th flank to b8. Pawn into pawn. Bishop into pawn. Why bishop into pawn? Why not pawn into pawn? We will see what happens if pawn into pawn is played. Pawn into pawn. d6. d6 gives a Very good play for white. And this square, that is c6, becomes very weak. After that, bishop f3 gives a good support to this square. b5. If now bishop f3, b5, pawn into pawn, rook into pawn, knight c5, it is equal. Knight d4, g6, a3, a5, king h1, b4, c into b4, a into b4, rook c2, queen b6. Instead of rook c2, white plays bishop f3, pawn into pawn, pawn into pawn, rook a1. Presents a lot of problems for white. So rook c2 is played, queen b6, knight c6. Here Fischer feels most probably this game will end up in only a draw. Pawn into pawn, queen into queen. Here without queen into queen, pawn into pawn is also adequate for white, but not knight into rook, queen into queen, rook into queen, pawn a2, rook f2, f1, but not rook c2, f1, bishop into b2, therefore rook f1, bishop f4. Now he has to move c1, rook into knight. Black wins. So after pawn into pawn, queen into queen is played, rook into queen, pawn into pawn, rook f to a8, knight into bishop. This is a mistake. Why this is a mistake? It gives a very strong passed pawn for black. Rook c3, defending this pawn, rook b2, rook c7. If you cut my bishop, I will cut your bishop. Bishop f5, g4. So this is a wild hope. Hopeless is also bishop c4, rook c2, d6, rook into c4, rook into rook, bishop d3, rook f1, c1, bishop into rook, rook into bishop, rook into a3, king g1, king g7. Black soon picks up this pawn and wins easily. Now we go back and see what happens in the actual game. Bishop e4 check, bishop f3, bishop d3, d6 or rook e1, e4, bishop g2, if bishop into pawn, rook e8, wins. So bishop g2 is played, rook d8, rook c5, king g2, king g1. Instead of king g1, g5, h6, h4, h into g, h into g, rook h8 check, king g1, rook h4 and wins. Bishop d3 check, bishop f3, bishop d3, d6, rook d8, rook d1, rook into pawn. After the game, Nazhidrov pointed out to Fischer for missing on e4, bishop into pawn, rook b1, rook into rook, bishop into bishop check, king g1, bishop into rook and wins easily. Rook into pawn, falling into the trap. Rook e7 holds longer, but rook f6, bishop d5, e4, bishop into pawn, bishop into bishop check, this wins for black. But what is played is rook into pawn, rook f6, rook e3, forced on bishop g2, on bishop g2, rook b1 is decisive. So rook e3 is forced. The rook into pawn, rook f6, rook e3. Rook e3 is forced, you have seen. Rook into bishop. That is an excellent move, we'll see why. Rook into rook, bishop e4, rook into pawn, rook f2, check, king g7, white resigns. Because next move, whatever white plays, will be rook into rook check. So white resigns. It's a bit marathon game with a lot of annotations. Thanks for watching. Thanks for your time. If you want to see many more excellent games of Bobby Fischer, please subscribe, like and share. Thanks for watching once again.